No.
Don't want to record over something.
Brenda's been busy, I get all kinds of emails.
No, it's sick.
I eliminated 300
Okay, so the
emails
microphones
today.
are
Am I
on.
doing
That's a good sign.
something
No. Deleting them sounds like a good idea. Did you read them first?
wrong? Oh, no, I just look at the headline. Biden this, Biden that, Biden this, Biden that.
Okay, I'll be right back.
You're going to see if there's another copy?
I'm going to print you another copy.
Well, starting
Okay,
late is
Madam
better.
Chair,
All I
we
need
are
is the
ready.
next-
All right.
You want one more than one? Everybody else is set?
Yes. So we're going to go ahead and get started on the work session, and the first topic we are on is the definitions from Title 15, those that pertain to dwelling, lodging, and housing. And we were finishing up 1510-226 land use allowed definitions. The bottom of page 9, there were quite a few. The last change I remembered was that in the definition for the hosted lodging unit, which is a new definition, an owner-occupied single-family residential dwelling where the owner, and then we said or operator, if the owner was hiring someone to operate it, sleeps at the dwelling unit while it is being rented. A room or group of rooms in which sleeping accommodations are furnished for compensation, and I think I added that should say and or meals, or just or meals. I don't know, and or meals,
Probably or.
just or,
I think it was just or.
just or, that's what I thought.
Say that you didn't have to
No.
provide.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No, you don't have to, but
Yeah.
I don't think, yeah, but you could also just put a comma.
Or,
Meals or other services. may be-
compensation, comma, meals, or other services, yeah, we could just do
Yeah.
that, comma. Or other services may be furnished by the owner or operator to an individual, not a family member. A lodging unit shall not contain more than 5 bedrooms.
That's the thing. Cannot
Right,
rent more than 5 bedrooms.
shall not contain, it can have more, but it
It can-
can't rent more.
Correct. Can't rent more.
Is that, can I ask a question?
Yeah, no, this is a work session, Bliss.
Yeah, just,
Is that because, anything more than 5 is hotel?
Yeah,
yes.
yep.
Now,
Shall
how does
not.
that work with the fire department and containing versus renting? Because
Well-
did we have an issue with that before where the fire department was like,
no.
no?
No, they consider the number of rooms, but, you know, typically for the last 100 years, it's been, 50% of your rooms to a maximum of 5 rented. So you could have a 10-bedroom house and
Okay.
rent 5. But it's like, but their concern is the rental, the nightly rental part.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so if you go over 5, then they're saying, well, now you're getting into more of a hotel, and that's still kind of an arbitrary number.
True.
'cause-
I just want to make sure we don't get into a spot where the fire department is like in a weird spot being, I know these are rented and I'm allowing this, but I shouldn't, and there's some sort of
Well-
health and safety issue, and they're not allowed to do their job because we both put in this weird code that,
But the code's always stated that, but,
Okay.
but,
That's the way it's always been. I mean,
wanna
you'd
make
be
sure the
making
fire
a
department
fairly
can do their job.
significant change.
right, and I think, Courtney, correct me if I'm wrong, these changes, these definitions are coming from either the International Fire Code or the International Building Code.
Right, what Jack is put here.
okay.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
yeah, so, but contain means the house can't have over 5.
Okay.
That we can have a house with over 5.
Right.
I don't know how many we have, but we might. Anything else on that? With the insurance company, the licensee, licenses, listing, or the listing site?
No.
They all seemed fine. So, top of 10. Short-term rental. It's fine. I'm not sure if that fits in under the nightly or monthly? What does?
Which one are you looking at?
Short-term rental.
That
the
is,
top one.
that is nightly.
That.
Short-term rental,
For short periods of time.
yeah.
Okay, so, all right. Short-term rental transaction, that's just about
Right.
where it's gonna be. Less than 30 days, okay. Whole house nightly, and it states where it's allowed in our land use allowed code. And that's the one where the owner or operator doesn't have to reside.
Yes.
And under that, we have 3, 4 items, and 3 and 4 have been deleted.
3, 4, 5.
Yeah, so this is a fairly new thing. I mean, historically, we've always said in B&Bs, which we're now calling hosted lodging units, in residential area, we're only allowed to rent 50 to a maximum of.
It used to be that R1, nobody could have anything before. If you buy a residence in a residential area, you want to know who your neighbors are. And it's over the years, I did bed and breakfast 25, 26 years ago, and it sort of has slipped down. And I'm concerned, frankly, of people who want to live in a normal neighborhood, that they're not having people coming and going all the time. And I see this as, you know, if it's not more than 50% people are living with it now if we're going beyond that,
Right.
that's problematic.
And I don't think that that's what our job at this discussion, we're talking about definitions, and by eliminating this, we are changing a fairly significant thing that we've been doing in town to making it more liberal as far as the number of rooms.
So why are we deleting that?
I think we should
Wait
find
for
out.
Jackie, let's
Yeah, why that's,
let's
before we make a
circle
decision.
around.
Changing the definition.
Yeah.
My guess
that's
is
quite-
because when you get into your into your codes, it's just not there. It's
Okay.
not, that's a local thing. That
Right,
has nothing to
but-
do with fire codes, and has nothing to do with everything
No,
else. but
and I
it's
think
our
they can
code.
add that to, I mean, I don't think that's a problem for them when they're reviewing whether there's an egress and ingress and every fire alarm and, you know, all the other requirements. I don't think this is an issue.
But
It's
it's
just
when-
that it's not in those other codes, so that
Right,
must be
but
why she's
is there a
deleting it.
reason why we're eliminating, simply because it's not in the other codes?
That's,
I'm just-
that's the question for Jackie, yeah.
Jackie.
And I don't agree with, I think we're liberalizing something that when we've had our meetings here and we talk about housing and stuff in the R1 especially, R1, R2, that's the biggest argument we have. Is, oh, we're getting more and more and more, and this is making more, and in fact, I think it's, unless we specifically say we're gonna discuss that, then I would leave that in. In fact, the time to do that is when we do our strategic
use
planning, land use planning, and we get residential people speaking, you know, and then have that discussion and get a feel for it. But until then, I think that's gotta stay in.
Okay. Moving down, and then we'll return to it when Jackie gets back. Hosted lodging unit in R1, R2, R, R3, and UR. Must be the principal residence of the property owner. The property owner must live on site throughout the visitor stay. Property owner or operator.
Yeah, it's gotta be principal residence of property
A
owner.
room or group of rooms in which the sleeping accommodations are furnished for consideration by the owner or operator. There it's on or operator. What's it?
Do we define
Residence.
principal owner?
Principal residence.
Principal residence.
Principal residence would be,
If I own 2 houses, which one do I really live in?
Yeah, how are we gonna define that?
where do you live?
Well, basically, you do that because it's hosted. You've got to be in one or the other. You've got to have, because it's actually, it's kind of redundant because we've already said it, that a hosted unit has an owner or operator living on the facility. So this is just really a redundant of something we've already said.
But
Is
if
it-
you're an R1 or R2 and you're renting out your house, your name needs to be on a title.
Yeah, except for, say you have this is where you get into, what if you lease a house for 20 years? Then you have every legal right as the owner, but you're not the owner. and that would be inappropriate.
But if you lease a house for 20 years, you end up with a roommate, you don't get to sublease your house
Sure you do.
out.
Sure you do. You're talking a lease, you have any lease you want to. A lease is not it's not that restrictive. I can,
But the
you know,
code can be restricted, the lease can't be. I mean, we can say, like, if you're living in this single-family home area and you want to rent your house out as a nightly rental, the owner needs to live there. I can't just rent a house from somebody and then also have a second business within that as a nightly rental. And be like, well, I rent this from so-and-so and now I am the sublease owner and now I'm gonna do
okay,
a
so what do you
rental.
have, so let's say, I'm in the B&B business, but I want to take a year off and travel. So I bring in a manager to manage my business.
His principal residence.
It's my principal residence, but then I'm not necessarily there.
Well, if you're in an R1, I think you need to be there all the time.
Yeah, that's what
Otherwise,
this is saying.
That's not, because it's an R1, there are plenty of zoning areas where you can outright do it, or you don't actually need to be there. But that area is a specific area, and we're allowing it based on this, you
Okay,
know what?
then I'm gonna go back to, I think we have to have a public hearing on specifically that area. We're working on definitions,
Yeah,
and now we're talking about something that's being done differently. I mean, we're saying, now we're going the other direction. I said the other one was making it more liberal, now we're making something more restrictive. And I don't think we've had the public hearing, because this is about definitions.
what did we have before historically?
Historically, it's,
You do whatever you want.
well, I mean, not everything you want, because we've had the 50% of the rooms, which we talked about a little while ago at one of our early meetings, where that went from maximum 50, which meant 2 out of 5 rooms, and then all of a sudden we found that the fire, nobody was saying anything when it went to 3 out of 5. And we had that discussion in here. It says, no, maximum 50 means 2 out of 5. And
Wow.
restricted that up a little bit, because that's what historically it's been.
I think historically it was R1, you couldn't have anything, because that's when I was here, and because I live in an office residential area. And that's when
Right.
I had my bed and breakfast, and there was several of the people who wanted to
Yeah.
have bed and breakfast, they lived in R1, and that was prohibited back so
Right, and
historically,
I've
that's the-
never heard that, so that's going back before my time,
Yeah,
that it was that.
yeah,
But-
so, but if you wanna talk about history, as you
Right.
mentioned, so, that's why, because it's, like I'm saying, it's getting back on the slippery slope.
Yeah, but I'm talking about history as in, last month.
But I can understand what you're saying, Nathaniel, and if you wanted to go that route, we would then have to separate R1 out of this and go back to what it was when Claire started her B&B and R1, and B&Bs weren't allowed.
Yeah, I
They
mean,
just weren't allowed.
everybody I talk to that lives in R1 wants to live next to somebody. They don't want to, and they're already upset with what we've done with places coming in that shouldn't be there, and we can't control it. But not comfortable with allowing somebody to like sublease out an R1 to be a bed and breakfast.
Right, now on the other hand, Craig, you have some experience, because right before you got on the board, you had your block talked into going to a different, I mean, they were in the idea that, no, B&Bs in our neighborhood are okay. That kind of went down because it was going to, office residential or something, and then we were saying, well, no, you can't. The B&B business was okay, but all the other businesses that then could go into the neighborhood, if I recall properly.
In changing it, failed.
It,
But-
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
failed, but
Well,
it didn't fail
This
because of the
committee voted
B&B
it-
stuff.
This commission voted it down,
Correct.
Right.
but it was recommended by administration because it met all the criteria.
Well, yeah, because you got your neighborhood to agree to it and brought it forward.
Right.
But then, if I recall properly, between the time that you do your groundwork and brought it forward, then the neighborhood kind of realized, oh, we're talking about more than just lodging. We're talking about, I can have, a taxi company, I can have, there's a whole bunch of other
In-office
businesses that come
residential.
into.
There was opposition, yeah.
Right,
And-
but I think, what I'm just saying is that you talked to your neighbors
Right.
about the lodging issue, and the lodging issue wasn't really the issue. I mean, you got them all to sign
Right.
your stuff, so, anyway, I'm not sure that, I know there's a lot of objections to whole house renting, not knowing that, but the person that is living in their residence and has a couple rooms available to rent, I have not seen a significant objection to that in R1. You can correct that, but that's what I've kind of run into.
I've seen, so I want people to be able to rent a room out in their house.
Right.
I mean, I rent a
Oh,
room
well,
in my house now.
Yeah, you can't stop that anyway.
Yeah, exactly. But
That's not-
I was just saying, I don't think that you should be able to own an R1, then lease it out to somebody else, and then have them lease it out as a nightly rental.
Rent it out.
That's what I'm saying. And the way that was described, that's what it sounded like.
So,
Right.
Oh,
Well-
you mean a short-term rental?
Yeah.
Nightly
Short-term,
rental,
yeah.
yeah.
Short.
Yeah.
so basically, if what you don't want to happen is that somebody owns more than one house in town, and they live in one as their primary residence, but the one that's not their primary residence, they could lease
Or
to
just
somebody
put a,
else.
or just put a manager, well.
Well, they
I-
could
I guess
lease or
that
put a
would be-
manager in it and run that one as a B&B, and that's where this, if both of them are in R1,
Right.
what we're saying is that's not, we don't want that to happen.
I still wanna
Yes,
come
that's
back to
not-
where,
That's
we're
what
on,
you're saying.
Yes, I'm saying.
we're on this thing, and our discussion, like I say, point of order, our discussion is about definitions, and right
Yes.
now, we're discussing something that's a change in the way we're doing business in town. And that's, I don't think that discussion should happen at this work session, because that's not what's on our agenda.
But the definition
It is, the
changes
definition
that.
of lodging is in your definitions, and that's
and
the
if-
work session is for the definitions of housing, lodging, and dwelling.
And if we add a property owner or operator can do a hosted lodging unit in R1, R2, that we're changing code
Okay,
here.
Right,
But that's what, these definitions are in code. So
Right.
we are,
okay, and I do understand, because we described a hosted lodging unit as owner-operator, but that doesn't mean it can happen in R1, R2. I mean, you're still a hosted lodging in office residential. I mean, we can do that, we can eliminate the operator here, if we're talking with,
or we can say in R1 or R2, it has to be the owner, and in R3 and UR, it can be an owner or operator.
okay.
See, we
Correct.
can break them out.
Right. I thought-
If that's,
Yeah.
and I think
I
that's what
agree with that.
Nathaniel's
Yeah.
saying, break it down so that if you're living in R1 or R2, you wanna know that your neighbor is this person and they are renting a nightly lodging or
Yeah.
whatever we're calling it now.
Well, let's do
hosted
that.
lodging.
And just,
for me.
because I'm not sure where we are, what page.
We're on page 10, halfway through, and we're gonna go back to
10,
number 4
92.
that was deleted, but we'll finish the discussion
So,
of this.
I just wanted to clarify, when we talk owner operator / operator, the application, which is a internal application that was created administratively, with the help of you guys too, but it states that, we wanna know who owns the property, and the reason for that is just like what you were saying, if you're in an R1 and R2, and you've got somebody else as your operator, then and they're living in it, you're telling us that, yes, you know that somebody's renting the place from you and they're operating a business.
Okay,
So
and-
just so you know that, that's
Yeah,
how we look
Yeah,
at it.
we understand that, and I think what Nathaniel is saying, and maybe it's only R1 that you're saying it about,
Most
maybe it's
concerned
not
with
R2.
R1.
That R1, it should be the owner,
Absolutely,
not
Yeah,
an operator they've hired or a
Right.
person they've leased their house to.
right.
So, can we make that change? Okay, cause it'll be a lot of wordsmithing, and I don't think we wanna,
So do we have any multi-room lodging in R1 that would be negatively, that have been operating for a long time, that would be negatively impacted by this?
well, Jackie, do
So
we know
I
anyone?
can tell you that the way that the code is written, when we review, it's a yearly application, so those things have to be either brought to compliance or realize why they weren't in compliance before. In an R1 neighborhood, the only issue that I know of is that there's individuals that rent out 2 rooms to two different people, and so that causes a conflict. Like the fire department says, you know, you need to. Somebody lives in it, they know, they're comfortable, and they can tell people where the exits are. But if they're not living in the home and they're just renting out rooms to whoever calls them up and gets rooms, it causes a health and safety issue. So right off the top of my head, for that type of business, there's maybe 3 of them that are operating.
In R1?
Uh-huh.
But you're just talking about what you just described, which was not what we're, was
That's
the
what he
question.
just asked.
That's what I just asked though, because I did get a text from somebody that was concerned that, you know, we might be changing a business, a way a business has been operated for a long time, years and years. That we might be changing something that's gonna negatively affect that business, but I believe they're in, urban residential, not
Yeah.
in
Okay,
R1.
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, R1,
Well-
like I said, there's a few, and those R1 people understand that code, when it changes and they apply for that application, they have to become compliant in the life safety as well as what our code is. And in some aspects, like one of them that I know of, they may have to change one thing, and it may be the fire department says, okay, we're gonna give you 1 year to be able to
Right.
do that, just like we've done on other businesses in town. You know, we don't say, absolutely, right now you must pay this money to get this done, so we work
Or
with
give them a cease and desist letter.
Yes.
Okay, can we jump back to 4, and can you tell us why that was deleted? Because, and what our thoughts were, that because it's not in the IFC or the IBC, but it takes out our main requirement over the years of that you can't rent out more than 50% of your rooms.
It further goes down and says hosted lodging unit shall not contain more than 5 bedrooms.
Right,
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but that's not what we've done traditionally. Traditionally, we said you cannot rent more than 5 bedrooms.
not contain, I mean, a
So
house could have.
if somebody has a 10-bedroom house,
And that's where it lies into the problem with the building department and the fire department. So you have a 5-bedroom house and you say you rent 5 rooms out, and they come and inspect 5 rooms, and then you decide you're gonna change it to 3 of the other rooms that they didn't inspect.
yeah, but I don't think we can, I don't think it's appropriate. I mean, that's an area that's a difficult area, like a lot of things.
Well,
But if somebody has a 5-bedroom house,
They can only rent
and you're
2.
saying, well, hold it, does that mean I can't rent 2 bedrooms? I can't use it?
No, it's saying that if you have a 5-bedroom house, you
No.
cannot continue.
If I have a 10-bedroom, which I have
Oh, you-
I have a 6-bedroom house. Sorry, you can't do this business.
That's what that says.
That's what that
That
says.
says
right?
you
can't
can't-
do this
Because
business.
it can't be inspected as
But
a
that's an inspection.
a 6-bedroom in any other city is 6 or more bedrooms is a motel hotel.
Not if they're not being rented. If you separate them
But
out,
we
you like that.
can't, through the police department, or through the fire department, through the building department, that's where you have to go off of their word, right?
Right.
Like what if 5 of your rooms out of your 10-bedroom house, you apply for a business license and you have 5 rooms.
Right.
And you're renting them. They come and they inspect them, but they don't inspect those other 5
Well,
rooms.
yeah, but they're not inspecting your apartment anyway, or your personal room. They're currently now not doing that.
I get that, but what I'm trying to say is, let me finish for a second. So you've got 10 rooms, 5 of them you've signed up to rent,
Yeah.
and they come and inspect those 5 rooms. They don't inspect the other part of your house because it's not listed in there as a domicile that would be used for rent.
Right.
Right.
And so then 3 of your rooms on the other side of your house don't have the proper egress windows. They don't have the emergency notifications or anything. And you decide, well, I don't, I've got these 5 rooms. It's not really gonna hurt. I'll just flip them from over here to these.
We have a definition of a hosted family unit, which means you're renting less than 5 rooms, or 5 rooms or less.
Well, and
I thought it was 50%. What we're losing is the 50% that we've had for years. You can't rent out more than 50% of your rooms.
a hosted lodging unit shall not rent out more than 50%.
Where are you reading that?
Well, I'm saying, that's what I'm asking
B.
you if you want me to put that in B. Hosted lodging unit shall not rent more than 50% of bedrooms to a maximum of 5.
Correct.
That's fair.
Okay, that's okay, but if you go back up to 4,
Yeah.
it says within single-family and two-family residential, lodging is limited to home occupation within an owner-occupied dwelling, which is the owner's principal place of residence, and to the rental of not more than 50% of the bedrooms to a maximum of 5. That was deleted,
Right.
which
and-
is what which is what you're trying to say, but under R1, R2, RR, R3, and UR. So why
Well,
did we
because they are-
delete 4?
Well, because it originally was only allowed in R1, R2. RR was a different, and so I merged them so it was an easier, you don't have to worry about 30% of your room, because in RR and UR it was 30%. Like, there's a massive percentages
remember
back and
that.
forth.
I don't remember a 30% in RR or UR.
30% of floor usage coverage is broke down in your usage. Am I correct? So when I changed it and spoke to the fire department and the building department, it was like, well, if you're gonna allow hosted lodging, then just do that requirement across the board in the areas that it's allowed. Because then anybody that's if you own a house that's 6 bedrooms in an R1 neighborhood and you want to, well, I guess you guys just changed that, never mind.
What?
I was gonna say, if you wanted to live there and rent it out, then you could rent out your individual 4 other bedrooms, or up to 5 bedrooms,
50%.
50%, if we put the 50% back
We want the
in.
50%
Yeah.
back in,
Yeah.
but
So, by changing this, are we going against the fire and the building with the federal and state codes?
It's how they inspect, and it
Yeah.
will, I mean, there again, in lies the problem. They're gonna inspect the 5 rooms that you tell them, and it's
Because-
gonna be on you as an owner to
Right.
do that properly, and then maybe further down, I mean, you guys do have an area where we can incorporate fines and the system that would be able to maybe keep people honest.
I would rather align with the fire and safety code and restrict the people, and if they, because that covers
Right.
safety
I
of
don't
everybody.
think there's 2 different things going on here. The fire department's issue is not the code, it's the fact that they're not inspecting rooms which then could be used. Because like even my place, I have an apartment for my year-round employee, and I have a room for my summertime employee, and I'm in central business, but then I have 5 rooms that I rent. When they inspect, they only inspect the 5 rooms. They don't inspect the private areas.
Yeah,
And what they're saying is, hold it, we don't know if that area is actually used for private, or are you using another room, and then it's not getting inspected.
correct.
So it's an inspection thing, which the inspection thing has nothing to do with code. There's no code out there that says, that's a sewer thing saying that the International Building Code does not say that nightly lodging needs to be inspected every day.
Okay, well, people are gonna lie to us and do whatever they want.
Yeah.
I just wanna cover our bases for health and safety,
Right.
so
Yeah.
that we don't run into an issue.
Right.
When I
Liz,
have
go
an
ahead.
inspection on hotel motel, they check all of them, even if
Correct.
I'm only doing 5 out of my 7 rooms.
Because
So
you
I
have
can
more
say
than,
I'm only
yeah.
doing these 5, so can't you put something on that says they check them all on the property?
Well, they could
Regardless of
also
which ones
probably
you
check them
choose.
all. I mean, that's still an internal thing where,
Right.
I mean, I'm not sure why.
Well, I can tell you exactly why, because the fire department in the years past has, and still believes that, you know, your home is your home and what you're doing is your business is your
Right.
business. We're not gonna inspect your home, we're inspecting your business portion. And so if you wanted to incorporate your entire house as being your business, then they would inspect everything. But then we would also include that in the paperwork that, you know,
That your whole home will
that
be
your whole
inspected.
home would be inspected.
Right. Well, if I think if that's the issue, that's a real issue, then that to me is the solution, not cutting something else out. I
Yeah,
mean, I don't have a problem, I mean, they don't inspect it, but I certainly have no problem with them inspecting.
if you're gonna run a B&B in your home,
You should have your whole house inspected.
you
Yeah.
should have it all inspected.
I agree.
You know, they should be able to poke around the basement,
That's-
make sure you don't
that's
have an insufficient.
Safety, that's health
You know.
and safety, and that's our number one priority
I
is
agree.
P&Z.
And I think that's gonna eliminate some people having people in their boiler rooms or
Right.
whatever, you
Right.
know, so giving them the clearance to.
I mean, who knows what they could do after the inspection,
Yeah,
but
but
if we, as the commission, say the house is gonna be inspected, even though you're only gonna rent 50% of the rooms, we're not
Correct.
allowing you to rent the whole place, but the whole place is gonna be inspected.
yeah.
Okay, so I
From
will
a
add
fire
that
safety
From a
standpoint.
fire
from
safety.
a fire safety
Right,
standpoint.
from a
Okay.
fire safety,
So-
not because I wanna go see what you're doing.
So I will include that as a D.
Well, you got a blank there, so yeah,
There we go, look, it was
Right there.
meant to be.
yeah.
So I'm gonna change B to state that not more than 50%
Yep.
and no more than, and shall not, and no more than 5 bedrooms, right?
Well,
Rented.
rented,
Yes.
cannot rent more than 5 bedrooms or more than 50% of your home.
In R1.
And that's R1.
R1 and R2?
R1, are we going
Can we
R1
just
and
do it all the
R2?
way across?
I'm fine with all the way across, but
Well, then are we getting into places that have been running a business? I know there's some places on.
Well, what it would do is it's gonna fall into, you know,
We already do it 50% everywhere.
we do
We
do
do
50%.
50%
So
everywhere.
the only thing that's
Yeah.
gonna add is that your whole entire house is gonna be inspected now instead of just the bedrooms that you say you're renting.
Which, yeah, I'm not sure the fire department's gonna
Like
like it in
it?
one sense, because it's more work, but in another sense, they aren't taking, because I think they feel some liability, even though they
Yeah.
don't have it legally. If a person said, these are the 5 rooms and something happens and the liability is on that business owner, not on the
Right.
fire department, but
So,
this
and
helps,
if
I
we
think.
include that as part of the, you know, under the inspection portion on the application too, so it's
Right.
really clear, like you're signing off knowing that they're gonna inspect your entire property, your entire home,
Right.
because you're renting out up to 5
Right,
rooms.
and they'll tell you which ones aren't legal to rent,
Yep,
that's
and
fine.
which is
As long as
helpful.
each
and then
person's-
they could write it down and then
Right.
you
We'd have
would
it,
know,
yeah.
yeah, so,
That
Could we,
protects
before we
us.
make it, will the fire department give us some feedback too? I don't want
so what I'm
to have them
doing
say they
is
can't do it.
taking this entire thing, all the changes, and working with the fire department as well as our city attorney to make sure that we have everything, you know, that we're doing the changes correctly and it's legal across the board.
This ordinance will go to a staff meeting of all the staff and to all the departments for their input. And it'll say in our agenda statement if there was any objections by any department.
And then it will also be approved or
Right.
reviewed by our attorney, because I just feel that we need to keep doing that direction when we're changing the code.
And
Besides, the fire department's getting paid by the hour to do it.
my question here was the fact that in some of these areas that we're deleting, I don't know what year that part of the ordinance was, because there's no codification things, but that's okay,
Yeah, I
next
deleted
time.
those, I'm sorry.
Next time, because then we know the history a little better, but we're making new
I
history.
tried to cut us down to 92 pages
Okay.
versus
All
more.
right. So, we're moving on, we've covered 4, and then all the under hosted lodging. So, 5, we've covered that. 6. In ORAC, HC, and CB, lodging is limited to the rental of not more than 5, and that's because if you rent more, it's a motel, hotel.
Right, and I would just remove the word commercial because.
It's, yeah, CB,
Right.
it's already
Yeah.
there. Multifamily dwellings used for lodging are not required to be the business or property owner's residence. Here we are. The use shall be limited not more, and that's already, that is our code now.
Yep.
Jackie, did you run another copy of?
Did you get?
It's right there, Lane.
Oh,
Oh,
Multifamily dwellings used for lodging purposes are not required to be the business or property owner's residence. So,
sorry.
okay.
are we saying that that's not true in R1 and R2, or just in
Which
R1?
one? I'm sorry.
Number 7.
7.
Yes, that would be the multifamily dwellings, duplexes, triplexes,
And they're not allowed in R1 anyway, right?
correct,
Unless they are non-conforming use.
right.
Okay, anybody got any issue with just leaving it? The rental or individual use lots not extended to apartment unit tenants, okay? Regardless of business name, the unit 5 guest bedrooms are considered a hotel motel, okay. Short-term rental may own human habitation, not rent a space in an accessory structure, storage shed or garage. Short-term rental facilities. And these new ones that are underlined and in bold are from the IFC or the IBC.
And
Just to
they're
keep it-
also from the APA planning ordinance and codes that are used across the nation.
Okay,
So they're just incorporated in both directions, or all 3 directions.
okay. Okay, so number 7, the number of available bedrooms shall be determined by the licensee and verified by fire marshal as part of the annual fire safety inspection. The maximum number of occupants permitted to stay overnight shall be 2 people for each bedroom, excluding children under the age of 6.
That's
Okay.
right out of the fire.
Right, but-
Okay, well, that's a problem, because every hotel room in town has 2 queen beds and you have 4 adults, is a standard.
They allow 5 in hotel rooms usually.
Yeah,
So should we put, this is under the short term, but it's 2 people for each bedroom.
right, but
You're saying
ty-
some
typical
bedrooms
is-
have 2 queen beds in them?
Sure, your 2, I mean, most hotel rooms are 2 queen beds.
But this is the short term rental, not the hotel.
Okay, I mean, it's the same, I mean, you're asking, you know, because I'm not a hotel, I can't have 4
Because the
adults in
hotel
the
is extinguisher has different
Yeah, but
precautions.
They
we've
have
already
a-
come down to,
They have a sprinkler
They have
system.
sprinkler systems, and they're allowed to have more people there because they have more,
Safety.
And this stops, like, this is something that Stefan and I have gone back and forth on multiple times, because you get somebody that has a 5-bedroom place, I'll just
Right.
keep saying 5-bedroom place, and they have a room where they have a queen bed, they shove it over to the wall, they put a bunk bed up against it, against the other wall, and they do that in every room, and the room is not big enough for escaping the proper way, and
Okay.
the footage is not proper,
But
so
what if your
that's,
room is big enough?
what if your room is big enough and you planned it, and there are, 2 queen beds in a room? I mean,
because hotel rooms are designed for a certain amount of people with certain egress and safety for it. So
Certain
is
amount
there-
of space in
Exactly.
between the bed, the wall, the
So-
tables, everything.
So does the,
Right.
does the building inspector and the fire, is there some sort of way to have like this room has the square footage and the egress for 4 people, or, see what I mean, like,
Right, they
Well,
could make that
I just don't know
assessment.
what the difference between 4 adults and 2 adults and 2 children is. Let's
It's
just
the
go to
size
that.
of the room.
It's the
The
size of the room.
Well,
Like
no,
the
but I mean,
hotels.
but we're talking about a safety issue, you're talking about egress and this and that, and you have 4 adults, they can get out a lot quicker than 4 adults and 2 children. We're saying it's okay. Now, I've seen this, I've seen this in other places where, the issue is, they're just trying to restrict the amount of this type of business. You know, Hood River and some of the places I looked at in Oregon, they had some very restrictive, but they were trying to restrict, they were in a motion of trying to restrict the entire business. And they put some of this stuff in, which I don't think we're trying to do in this town.
No,
no,
health
trying
and
to
safety.
keep people safe.
Right,
The hotel
well-
is designed a specific way, so if that can be done for
But
another
a
area.
hotel has, 13 rooms and everybody's trying to get out the whole thing. You're still only with, say, 2 rooms. I have a 1 room I'm renting out in my house. It has 2 queen beds.
What,
And you're saying I can't do it.
what if in number 7, could we add on or have it where the fire marshal, I mean, they're already saying the number of bedrooms shall be determined.
Which is wrong. The number of available, we're already gonna inspect the
Yeah.
whole house, so that's
Yeah.
gotta be changed.
Okay,
Can we
but
give an
isn't,
occupancy, like the fire inspector give an occupancy certificate?
yeah, that's where I'm going with it.
Yeah.
Is why couldn't the fire inspector just say what the occupancy is?
Sure.
Period.
Or, square footage. you
The
think
maximum
Yeah.
number of
Right.
occupants permitted to stay overnight shall be determined, in each room shall be determined by the fire marshal, by the fire
That'd be
department.
bad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'll just write it down and then I'll ask them.
Yeah, they'll love us,
Yep.
won't they?
And I'm wondering, because we do want to change that, what if I put the number of available rooms shall be determined by the licensee, because you are going
Right.
to tell us, and verified by the fire marshal as part of a whole house inspection,
Sure.
annual
Yeah.
inspection?
Yeah, something that like, but I just,
Yeah.
like, and I know there's places around that have two queen beds in a single room and they've got a little, that's part of the house, an exit right out the back door.
I just
Yeah.
wanna make sure it's safe for everybody, and I know
Well,
hotels are designed
Yeah.
with a safety, aspect
Right.
into it.
Well,
That's all.
But some
Okay.
B&Bs, I mean, I've got it in one of our rooms, it's 2 queen beds, and it's a big room. There's plenty of room to get out and right out to the door.
Yeah.
And that can fit, hopefully 4 adults that know each other really well.
Okay, yeah.
But,
All right.
But you
You know.
don't want to have where maybe if it has 2 queen beds in it, or it has 2 larger beds, but you don't want somebody to just go, okay, well, I'm going to put bunk bed, bunk bed.
right.
So,
yeah.
Right.
yeah, I've
but
got it.
it's also, again, it's another thing that how can you enforce it? I mean, we're saying is, legally I
But
can't
what-
put 4 adults in here, but I can put 2 adults in, I can't have my grown children. So I have to put little children. How do you enforce that?
We're not necessarily, I don't think, like you said before, are we really talking about enforcement right now, or are we talking
Right.
about definition?
And,
Yeah.
So-
and
That's
so,
just to
Well,
keep us
we're-
covered on
whatever
safety.
we put on here will
Will become.
become something that
Right.
they have to adhere
Right,
to.
but basically what I'm seeing is that if we give the fire marshal guidance here, they can say, hey, your B&B has a maximum occupancy of 5 people.
Right.
right,
And then Jackie sees them advertising that they have,
occupancy for
they
10
can rent
people.
rent it out to 10 people. Well, now we've got a documented issue
Right.
that needs to be addressed.
Yep.
And we know that they're putting somebody on a couch or
Right,
something.
but otherwise, I don't know that we can do a lot more, but if
No.
we at least have this information to start with, and it's not based on how many rooms, because you might have
Right.
someone start chopping rooms up and making them really small. And, you know, so I don't,
You'd be creating a problem.
Okay.
yeah, and that's, I'm concerned about is like you said, creating another problem.
We have a
so-
page and a half left of this document, and then we're going on to an even bigger document. So, from this point on, I don't see a lot of issues. We're talking about their business license and the application fee, and if you discontinue, that you don't do anything, but you better not be running it. It doesn't
Right.
say that, but I did. A licensee shall inform his or her insurance company that the property is covered. So you're gonna get, they need to turn in a insurance with their.
Yeah, it's on the application
Okay.
right now, it's just not something that's
All right.
enforced, but we will require it from when
Okay.
this is approved on.
Okay. So A and B are pretty much just talking about that? Okay. I'm turning the page to 12.
Turn over.
The licensee shall maintain the policy, okay, violations of the conditions of approval as determined shall reside. Ooh, good, now we revoke and a possible penalty. Okay. And reestablishment will be allowed with compliance and the pay of the penalty, okay. Within the annual permits provided the city, property shall report to the city the following minimum information. And that's what's on the application, right?
Yes.
All those items.
The only thing that's not on the application, you know, is like the 24-hour contact. The fire department, and that's one of the things, like, it's like, who do we get a hold of?
Right.
So that just gives a little bit, and giving the citizens or whoever's renting the ability to know what to do in case of an emergency with the tsunami. That helps
Right.
us in FEMA
Yep.
areas also.
Okay. All right, so you're going to write this up with all the changes we've mentioned and bring it back to us or bring it to staff?
I'm gonna do the changes that you guys have requested and talked about, then I'm going to work with the attorney as well as staff to make sure that we come back with, if there's something that's really drastic that we changed, why we're changing it, and then present it to you in one more draft form.
In a work session?
Yes.
Or at a meeting?
Well, because we'll be at one more, I mean, we could do it under a discussion item.
And then at a meeting, we could have it as the discussion item of our final draft?
Yep.
And then we can say, bring it to the next meeting
Yes.
as an item for action?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Works for me. Now we're on to, wait a minute, what is this next step?
This was just giving you breakdowns of the
Current.
current code.
Existing code.
Current, okay.
But so we're to page 18.
Land.
The land, which hasn't been updated since 2014, when we had several public hearings on it. I remember it well, and, but I wasn't there. Kyle, oh, that's when it was adopted by the council. The planning commission, I was there. Okay, so were you, Tom.
Yep.
And so were you, Gary. All right, you were there when we reviewed this the last time, so it's right there. Long-term memory is still in my mind, yes. Okay, so we're turning, let's go to the introduction. No, we need to do the introduction.
On page 28,
28 is the introduction, but, well, you will review that, because some of it is referring to where the city code, fair market value, tidelands, I mean, there's other things, and that's not really, I mean, it says the resolution and numbers, and we don't have that information yet.
yeah.
Okay?
So we really want to go to 34.
Yeah, we do. We're going to 34.
Look, guys, you went through more pages in this one than we did.
Yeah,
in the
5 minutes.
Ah,
We've got another 55 minutes, right? Well, we'll say an hour, because I'm gonna need a break between
yeah.
6:55 and 7. All right. So, okay, so what this land inventory is all the public buildings and land owned by the city and what their current use is and then we write a recommendation to what we think should happen, okay? Sometimes it's just leave it alone, sometimes it's lease, sell,
Okay.
okay?
Somebody wrote in here, sell this first one?
Where? Did you?
What?
No, Tom, that's City Hall, right? Recommendation, retain land ownership, replat to vacate internal lot lines. Has that happened? And why not?
Previous administrations never brought it forward, and I, to be honest, have never really looked at this until this last year.
Continue to develop as an expanded City Hall public safety. But if we ever wanted to build to the north and we would cross a lot line, it has to get replatted.
Correct.
So we're waiting for that action to,
Yep.
to push it
Instead of paying to have it.
done ahead
That
of
should
time.
probably happen,
Okay,
since we have a building on multiple lots, is that what I'm saying?
Well, there, where that is back there is another lot.
Oh.
And
the
so if we
building's
were
not
to
on two
expand
lots.
the building, demo the building and build a new one,
I got you, yeah.
then
then
we'd
we
have to
would- we
replat.
would have
But
to.
we'd have plenty of time to replat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so that one's good. Yay, we're done with one. City Hall Annex Old Library. Now that's probably gonna have a lot of change. Retain land ownership and replat as a single parcel. You mean that's a bunch of different parcels?
It's not, it is replatted. It
It's
is
been
a single
replatted.
parcel.
So,
Just
retain land ownership. There's, I don't,
Delete
I
the other
mean,
stuff.
right now we own it and we, probably the description needs to be changed as to what's in it right now.
Yeah, so
But-
it's that old library.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll update
yeah,
that.
okay. We're on page 35, the Seward Animal Shelter. Animal shelter uses the south 42 feet of the city-owned lots fronting the east side of 6th Avenue. Recommendation retain until the animal shelter is relocated.
And so, under
Same.
recommendation, well, that's, I mean, they've already picked another location
Yeah.
for the animal shelter, and an RFP is out for that animal shelter to be built.
Okay, when does that close?
The RFP closes on June 11th,
Okay.
is scored on June 14th, and then our hope is to bring something forward to the council that first meeting in July.
Okay, so the recommendation, I know that the same recommendation as city shop is probably what this recommendation will add, because it's part of the same parcel.
It is, it's all one parcel,
And
it's not a
that
separate
recommendation
lot.
is right below it. Retain
Yeah.
land ownership, vacate internal lot lines, evaluate alternative shop locations, cost marketed as available for sale or trade, providing there is funding from the agreement or other sources to replace the facilities elsewhere in the community. Still the same, right?
So there, the internal lot lines are still there.
Yep.
So the
We
animal
would just-
the animal shelter could be on a separate piece of land.
It says that it's
We
just
have
the
to
south
request
42
for the
feet.
lot lines to be put back in, cause right now it's one big parcel. So, but there are the previous city plan from 1920,
20.
I think so.
Right.
It's got those lots, you know.
If we look back at an older plat, we could find out where the other lot lines were
sure,
and we could
right.
revert back to it. But until we
Until something's
move
done,
the
right.
shop, we don't really have to do that. Or we have somebody who wants to put in condominiums and they don't wanna buy the whole lot.
30 by 100.
Well, and then the question there is, comprehensive plan suggests, so we need to change the 68 and 85 to our current,
Right.
I think,
Yeah,
okay?
Courtney, you're gonna learn a lot when you're updating all these, descriptions.
Yeah.
Okay,
Here's my only question I'm gonna ask.
yep,
Is it at the best interest to say that property would be used for a convention center, a hotel, a senior center, a youth center?
No,
no,
No.
let's not say
Can I
that.
take those out?
Yeah, we don't wanna tell a developer what
No.
to put there.
God, I remember that when they
Oh,
were.
It's in the description, yeah.
I'm like, what?
I remember when they were doing planning that years ago.
Yeah, that doesn't need
Big
to be
convention
there.
center here.
Yeah, so whatever, I don't know if the comprehensive plan suggests what it's gonna be used for, but we might not wanna say it.
Yeah, I think we'd be better off just, you know, dictating that the goal under recommendation of the city shop is to, evaluate alternative shop locations, how much it would cost, and then look at market it as available for sale.
Right. The environmental issues, should probably stay in there because we
Yeah.
don't wanna hide any of that, but
Yep.
people should know. Okay.
So under
scene-
recommendation, do we scratch retain
Retain.
land ownership?
I think you should, but that's up to you guys.
Yeah, because we're gonna get rid of it.
Yeah.
That's the thing,
Sell it for homes.
we're basically saying two things here,
Yeah.
contradicting it, so I'm
Right.
thinking we should get rid of the
So let's,
contradiction.
because there is no internal lot lines right now, let's just say evaluate alternative shop locations and costs and market this city shop property as available for sale or trade, provided there's funding from the agreement or sources to replace the facilities elsewhere in the community.
Yep.
Correct.
All right. Scratch that first line. All right.
Doesn't matter, that's, make it happen.
Senior center, teen youth center.
Yep, retain
Pretty much
ownership.
retain.
and-
Yeah, I mean, we don't have plans to move it.
Okay,
Get
so
rid of
just
it.
need some
Retain.
changes on the description.
And I will also, instead of
Parks and
teen
Recs
youth
is there.
center, I'll put boys and girls club.
Right, so it's
Yeah.
now in the senior center and boys and girls is all, right?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
BYC, or boys and girls, okay. Look at us go, look at us go, we're on page 36.
Like 50-some pages left.
So
Well,
we're
like
still
six-
gonna use boy and girl, man and woman.
Yes, we can. Them. Fire hall. We have 3 city lots, I guess, for the fire hall.
Was there a plan to move the fire hall out on the corner of DeGraff, right?
Annex.
It was an annex building,
Yeah, I remember voting
not
on
on
it.
the corner of Dick Graff, it was on the corner of, Sea Lion.
Sea Lion, okay.
And I don't think, I think it was another fire building,
Yeah.
not
Oh, so
move
it
this
wasn't
whole
moving
thing.
this one, it was
No.
just building an additional one.
No,
Oh, okay.
and just so you guys know that in the CIP also that stuff's coming forward, you know, they are looking at how to, you know, because the building it has right now is unsafe. It's got a large crack in the floor where our trucks sit on. But they are looking at trying to use the volunteer property as well as the other property on the side of them and figure out funding to be able to build right there. So I think that, you know, in my mind, we need to take a lot of this, you know, the feel-good stuff out of something.
Well, the description isn't bad, right here, that pretty much says what you just said.
History.
Okay,
Yeah, and retain land ownership as a fire hall, acquire lots to the north, and replat as a single parcel.
but I
mean,
think we should take the fire department should be relocated out because it doesn't need to be relocated.
it says should the fire department
Oh,
be
okay.
relocated? The site has
There's no
been
plans to
discussed for a
relocate.
public
But the
safety.
thing is, there, and I'm not on the fire department, I think those guys know better about this. But we have a large ladder truck.
Yep.
And we have the ability to build taller buildings in town. But the ladder truck is across the bay because we don't have a place to house it here in town. Where does that get addressed?
It gets
Because-
addressed in whether or not the city and the council choose to move forward to build a new fire station.
Down the
So,
road.
will it be one of the legislative priority lists for federal legislation? Is it going
It's
to
on
be
there,
on
the
it?
fire department, I think the city shop's on that also, like, it's on their
Well,
list
it's
already.
probably been on there for years, I just wondered how high it's moving up on the list. Cause that ladder truck was an important purchase, but they only can build taller buildings over there, where the ladder truck is.
And that's why they moved it, because we okayed a couple buildings to be built there that were larger.
Well, we okayed them because that's where the ladder truck was,
Okay, so.
yeah. So
Chicken and
if
the
we
egg.
got it back over here,
I'm gonna pull up their priorities right now, just
Okay.
so the,
And is the lot that they're on big enough to house that truck?
I don't know.
I think there was some discussion about when we figure out where public utilities is gonna go, maybe at the same time building an annex for the fire department.
Just one bay that would
Just
hold
fire
it.
truck.
'Cause didn't we set aside land on the other side for potentially putting a fire, there was the fire,
It's the fire training
The
and
training
an
facility.
annex fire
Annex,
station over
right.
there. But
That's
what
where that
she's
truck was
saying
at.
is, in the relocation of public works and building of a new public works, we've talked about adding an additional bay
For the fire truck,
that would just house that fire truck.
that ladder unit.
That ladder truck, yeah. That, you know, so it'd still be on city property, it'd be in a city building, but it would be their own little
And
contained area.
that might make it happen sooner than if we have to wait for this to get torn down and rebuilt, or the annex to get built. So, I don't know, we
Right.
can't really add that in this, because we're talking about these specific lots here, so I think we're okay with what's there.
We haven't, and until something is built, I'd still leave the replat as a
Yeah.
single parcel.
Yeah. Okay, library museum, the land was acquired private ownership, the new facility opened, retain land use ownership.
That's good.
Fine,
Yeah.
hospital, parcel originally part of the Brownell, it was acquired in fifties, late quiet titled in 64, blah, blah, blah. Retain land ownership and use, I don't think we have any
Good choice on that
major
one.
issues
We're not gonna
on
sell
that.
the hospital?
Yeah, no. Parks and Recreation Warehouse and Office, paint it! Oh, sorry, I did say that. I don't know what, during COVID, when you couldn't do anything but be 6 feet away from each other, hand out some paintbrushes. Anyway,
So-
tear it down,
The Parks and Rec, just so everyone knows, Parks and Rec warehouse, the plan and the goal is during and it's one of the things that Norm's been working on, when the Coast Guard relocates over to the other side, we're working with them to have them possibly give us what they have on this side, the Coast Guard building, and the secure storage that's there. And then we would relocate Parks and Rec over into that area and demo
Good.
the old Parks and Rec warehouse.
and I think that's still there, relocate warehouse functions to a central shop location with other city departments, so it'd be near
Yep.
the harbor departments, remove the building and use the site as a possible lease or sell.
Now, when the potential, when we were talking about moving City Works out there, were they, I was under the impression they were all gonna kind of be there together, so.
Well, not in that building, that building's
Well,
gotta go.
but it's right in line with that property.
Yeah,
Right,
that's what I
it
mean.
is,
So-
yeah.
Not
So-
necessarily that building, but I was under the impression the whole thing was gonna go out to that big lot out there.
To
No.
Public Works in the back, no, they
Okay, so they
didn't.
were always gonna move and we were gonna put Public Works on the backside.
Well, and then the council changed that in general, just because, so Chugachimute, they're selling the portion around the Fort Raymond, or around the Parks and Rec warehouse, and then right from there to the easement, that's one possible location for the city shop. But previous council has talked about, is there a better location for the city shop? And that's what you guys recommended, that it be, left the same, and
What, you left the same, we didn't
the
recommend leaving
city
the
shop,
no.
evaluate.
Okay.
Okay, Seward, are we okay with Seward Mountain Haven, long-term care facility, retain ownership and use?
Yeah, at least until I get my
Your room,
service done.
you want a room there?
Yeah.
Okay, public facility lands, so now we're just talking about lands, small boat harbor, which this is just lot 15, block 6?
It's just the water.
No, it's lot 15, block 6.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was thinking wrong.
This is the harbor master building.
Yes.
Okay, retain land ownership, continue current use. Should a new harbor master building be constructed elsewhere? Evaluate option. Include leasing the present building. Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
Yep.
Parking lot. Yep, same old, which is
Yeah.
the ones on the east side, and then
Yep.
the
And-
silver.
And I will update the dates, cause like the public restroom has been, there's now, it's been upgraded.
Yeah.
And done up, so I'll get the right dates in there for that.
On the silver lot, work with the railroad to develop Harbor Plaza area or retain for parking. Is this the piece between, Hotel 360 and the train wreck? Is that the lot we're talking about?
That's a
I think
parking
it's
lot.
it.
I know, but
Yes,
there's a lot of parking lot down there.
they
And so
approved,
is
in
this,
2014, they approved the lease and the sales agreement with the Alaska Railroad. So the Alaska Railroad operates that little sliver now as
Right.
parking. Where the port is, the porthole,
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's right there, I mean,
Oh.
right there by
Puffin
that.
Mural
So
That-
since it's currently
that's
leased,
a
should we
J-Doc.
change the recommendation
to its least.
well,
to,
That's not north of J-Dock. Or wait, oh, J-Dock.
it's
I'm
the
thinking-
narrow parcel
Yeah.
between Fourth and the railroad land, south of J-Dock.
Leased to the railroad for hotel parking. And that is it's that little sliver. I'll pull up the resolution, I'm sure there's a map.
Well, it was called the Triangle for years, I believe.
And then now
And
it's
then-
called the silver.
Yeah.
Sliver.
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 It's the sliver.
I was like,
Sliver.
silver?
Sliver.
I don't know.
So,
Oh, it's sliver.
Guys,
The
I'm
sliver.
sorry, I've already got vacation brain and
stop. Okay, so I guess since we approved a lease and a sale agreement, did we lease it or did we sell it?
Yeah,
I'll bet you leased it for a certain amount of time with the option of them to buy it.
The
And so-
railroad to buy city land?
Or building 360.
Give me 3
No, not Hotel
seconds.
360.
I'm looking it up
That's a
right now.
leased property. I mean, that land is leased to Tugas.
Oh,
And the train wreck is leased to Tanya Sandifer. And I think maybe the parking lot between the train wreck and Hotel 360.
Is the sliver.
No, the
So
one
it
south of the
authorized
hotel.
the city
Oh,
manager
oh,
to
okay.
enter into a
2-year lease?
two lease and sales agreements with the Alaska Railroad for an exchange of the uplands along 4th Avenue and the tidelands containing the small boat harbor east breakwater.
because that land was pretty much useless.
Right, it was so small. You couldn't build anything on it.
So it's just on the other side.
So,
Except for that trailer.
it's on the south side.
Yeah,
of
Yeah, it's on
Lake
the south
District.
side, not on the other Puffin side.
No,
no, it's on the south.
South
it's,
side, yeah, the other
what
side.
number is this?
Between the oil facility
It's right along the
and
road.
the Seward, yeah.
Yep.
It's just a little, it's
Right there, number
just
4.
like this. I don't know, I guess.
No, it's 36.
36? Oh yeah, 36.
See this right here? Isn't it this piece right here?
Oh, jeez.
oh, that little
Yes.
sliver.
No, not that one.
This
Yes,
purple one,
that one.
right here.
Yeah. I'm looking at this map
It's
here.
one or the other
It's
of
the
those.
purple one.
Yeah, 36 right there and there. Right, the parking
Anyway.
lot right there.
Anyway,
A perfect use for that is trading it with the railroad who has all the land around it.
Yeah.
Okay?
we didn't retain it for parking, so I don't know what do we,
Just maintain
the lease and
lease
sale
sale
agreement?
agreement with
Yeah.
railroad, something like that.
So under the recommendation, maintain
Lease.
current lease and sales
Sale.
agreement with, okay.
Lease slash.
Lease agreement, it's not
and
sales,
or.
is it?
So-
It's either, it's a funny,
It's
they're saying it's
either
both.
or.
Lease
Well,
and,
it's that or, it depends on what they finally do. They said, we'll sell it in exchange for,
They probably had to work out the details.
right.
So we probably need to see the agreement.
To accomplish these goals, administration and Alaska Railroad have negotiated the contracts attached as follows. And then it says, the old portion of the Coast Guard building, the sliver along 4th Avenue. City acquires a 95-year lease to the Tidelands where the East Harbor breakwater is built. Current lease fees for that parcel are $11,000 a year or equivalent value in gravel at 3 cubic yards rescinded. The city acquires a 35-year lease for the fish cleaning station and the oil recycle facility, and an option to renew for another 35 years, at which point this lease can be renegotiated if the city desires.
So we're just saying maintain the
Yep.
lease sale agreement
Maintain it.
with AARC, okay. Okay, parking lot, the middle, retain land ownership and continue current public use. Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely, it's in the middle.
The north pump station parking lot, which is south of, the auto supply, the Napa, Relay continuous managed public parking, and the lift station is in that parking lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And then the South Harbor, retain ownership and continue public parking. South Harbor Uplands, which is the new part, retain land ownership and continue public use. Replat north side for lease sites with sound development plan. And there was a lot of discussion about this, about how to do it without the problem that existed when all the little shops were along the current harbor and they didn't have plumbing or wastewater facilities, and then,
That's why it says with a sound development plan.
right, so
Yeah.
they,
And
I
where
think
they
it's the same.
located, like the water and sewer that run to that bathroom, you know, they talked about it would be regarding setbacks or whatever, at the shop, it might run under the buildings, so they had to reconfigure and look at different ways to block that out. PACAP's worked on it for years.
Yeah, and so that's, again, it's still a possibility for more small business owners, for more commercial development. We're going to 40.
travel lift.
Yep, continue.
Travel lift, yeah, same.
Can I just say that under the recommendation, I know that the harbor master and PACAB, as well as some of the council members, are looking at doing a grant to fix that travel lift area. So maybe under recommendation, retain and continue the existing use and possible funding for updating. That might help them on grants.
Sure.
Yeah,
Continue existing use and
improvement.
explore
improvement.
and attain funding for improvement.
So we do have a heart.
We do. Small Boat Harbor Basin, replat tideland to create a legal parcel. That would be kind of important. Did we do it? Check, done. So now what do we want to say is our recommendation? Retain ownership.
Retain
Continue
ownership.
existing use.
New use, okay, SMIC. SMIC.
Bum, 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 bum.
Page 41. Harbor Master Building and Boat Storage. We've done that, right? Added the second building for fire apparatus?
We did, we added that second piece to do it.
Okay.
That was that 6 acres that you guys replatted and just went through the borough.
For long-term
Is that where that
look
boat is?
at constructing a new
Firefighting
building
stuff?
large enough to accommodate, oh. So we still want this last sentence, for long-term look at constructing a new building large enough to accommodate 2 fire trucks, a police vehicle, and greater?
And that falls in line with the overall use of SMIC, the possibility of having an administrative office out there, an area that has police coverage and
Right.
expansion in the area. So yes, I would say that works.
it makes sense if we want to expand things out there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ship lift rails and transfer carriage retain ownership and current use, yep,
And we'll remove vigor off of that.
yeah.
Yeah,
But JAG,
or
Just
can we just
Just-
put like leasee or something? Like
lessee, yeah.
Yeah.
Lessee, yeah, instead of a particular.
Then we
name.
have to keep changing it.
Yeah.
Travel lift, road easement, and vessel washdown facility retain ownership and current use.
And we just replatted that use for that Polar Seafoods plat too, so that cleared that up.
But we changed the name from Polar Seafoods.
Yes.
Okay, another reason we don't put company names
Yeah.
in resolutions, and, yeah, okay, include Spring Creek, docks, basins, and breakwater.
That new expansion out there, correct?
Yes.
It includes the
The basin
campground.
has been completed, cause it says never been completed with protecting breakwaters, so we have that.
Now, it says multi-stage process out there. We're not completely done with it, right?
No,
How many
no,
stages?
there's still, but the breakwater's complete,
Like, we
so.
have breakwater is complete.
But their idea is to add additional dockage out there, fix the north dock, that loading dock area.
The ramp that goes to nowhere.
Yeah.
So the second sentence can be deleted. And the ship lift isn't part of it, so I don't know why the last sentence is in there.
It is that basin.
Yeah.
Oh, the whole, okay, so
Yeah.
we're talking about the whole, like,
So
in the tidelands.
I think we should put ship lift is operated by leasee under an agreement.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Under recommendation, continue develop.
retain land and
Yeah,
facility
it's not
ownership,
finished over
continue
there.
development. Okay, rock quarry. See that somebody's wanting some rock soon. Retain land ownership for the near future, continue extraction of rock for riprap and city construction project, redevelop status after quarry is exhausted.
Yep.
But we still, I mean, we don't just extract for our projects, we sell rock out of there. So,
So you
We
think
don't
it's
say
time to
anything-
stop selling rock?
well, no, we don't say anything about selling rock to, I mean, it comes to the council by resolution to sell rock to people, but this makes it sound like only if it's a city construction project.
It does make it sound like that.
Take out
Continue
city.
extraction
You
of
put in
rock
sell.
for, city construction projects and, sell,
Supply. No?
Why don't you say continue to extract rock
Oh,
for
but-
riprap until exhausted.
So, and then what?
And then, okay,
Reevaluate.
It
And then
says
reevaluate.
reevaluate status.
When our rock quarry is exhausted, then what?
Reevaluate
Reevaluate.
for sales.
No, I mean, where are we gonna get our riprap? I mean, we're always going to
Well,
need.
Well, most of the
you're
riprap
not
doesn't
gonna
come
get it
from
there if it's exhausted. So I'm not sure that.
That's my point. Why are we selling off our rock?
Well, that's
most-
not our, I mean, it's coming to
That's
council, they
that's
could
city
make
council,
that
we don't
decision.
Decide.
And
It's
most of
on
that-
their agenda for the 24th.
Most of that rock can't be our riprap because it doesn't break off at the correct size.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So our
And
big
it's
rock we have to
fragile.
get from Kodiak because it
Right.
breaks off at a large size. That's only small rock over there.
And
So
that's
just
why
say
when we
continue
redid
extraction
that
of
road,
rock.
We brought
Right,
we
and-
used some
yeah,
of
yeah.
ours, but we brought most of it from Kodiak.
Can we just say continue extraction of rock, reevaluate status after
Yeah.
quarry is
Yeah.
exhausted?
Yep.
Correct,
Yeah.
yeah.
The council
our
will
job to
decide if they
decide,
sell it
yeah,
or
yeah.
use it for them, okay.
We haven't been voted in yet.
The interior service roads at SMIC, recommendation return, yeah, let's continue to use them.
Well, and we've talked about that before. Of course, we want to continue using them, but we also need to
Evaluate.
it needs to come forward where we actually plat it out, and this is a driveway or a
Private,
utility
yeah.
use, and then this is actually a public use type thing, and that's planning and zoning, PACAB
PACAB.
has talked about that. It's in their SMIC development plan.
So we're just gonna retain ownership and current use and let them come back.
And we're gonna take out the Polar Seafoods replat, because that's been changed, so I'll update it
Okay,
to that
whatever that
waterfront.
name is.
I think that's what we did it.
Yeah,
called.
SMIC waterfront,
Yeah.
I think. Okay, we're back into town, the Gateway Water Tank. Retain ownership for watershed in the water tank. I don't think there's been any changes to the description. I don't know why we're talking about the bunkers, but I guess, just
Public
history,
interest, just
history.
history, yeah.
North water storage tank, is that the new one?
Constructed, that's the new one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on
Retain
Hemlock.
land ownership for
We oughta
water
keep that
storage
one
tank.
longer.
Yeah. Lowell Creek Tunnel Waterfall Bear Mountain, boy, that's interesting, that whole new one that's gonna go over top of the road?
Yeah,
Really?
yep.
18
Causeway.
foot, yeah, over
And then
top.
shoot off the end.
Whew. It's
The
gonna be
old
a
one
new
will
water
just be-
slide.
The old one will be its secondary, so
When
if
it
it backs up, it goes.
Retain land ownership,
more we
continue
got
use
already.
for watershed scenic backdrop, Christmas tree and diversion tunnel. A lot of people take pictures in front of that
A
waterfall.
lot
Yeah,
of
a
people
lot.
take pictures in front
I
of
know
it.
that, it just seems interesting that we put scenic backdrop in.
What about the city Christmas tree? Keep it too.
I like the city Christmas tree.
It's on that parcel,
Yep.
Mineral Survey 981, so. Now, we're back to the Lowell Creek Diversion Tunnel,
Water fence and hydro.
Which one's that?
page 44.
Well, if we-
We're going, guys, we're 20 pages left, we're just doing it. Okay,
Okay.
Back up to that one without going too crazy on this. It's 81 acres on the Bear Mountain.
yeah,
Is
yeah.
there anything else that can be done with that 81 acres?
Well, there's been talk about a
Lift,
lift and a small ski
Sightseeing.
thing, or a lift to a restaurant for scenic dining. But, again, that would need a developer. So we could say retain land ownership, continue use for watershed scenic, backdrop, Christmas tree and diversion tunnel, or lease or sale with a sound development plan.
That would be
There
good.
you go, yeah. It's
Consider
81 acres,
lease
it's a
or
lot of
sale.
property, yeah.
Okay, lease,
we ought to put something in there about a cell phone tower.
Lease with sound development.
with sound development that we can't see, no,
Is that
development
number 26 or 23?
plan.
23, right, on the map?
Which one?
Or
It's
first
number
map?
23.
23 is right.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to page 44, Craig. Which is the diversion tunnel and the hydro plant, water tanks, all up there by the racetrack.
That's 26.
Retain
Yeah,
land
number
ownership, do
26.
not extend housing any further up the canyon, generally manages a scenic backdrop and as a watershed, continue working with our conditional outside the Army under accept and transfer ownership and maintenance. Yeah, they're not gonna take over the ownership, but they're going to put this plan together and help us find funding?
So it's still under their ownership, right? I mean, we own it, but they still have to do that maintenance.
They're, yeah, they're totally involved, but we own the property. But we can't do anything without their approval.
Correct.
Oh,
Okay.
no, we don't want to do anything.
No, we don't wanna do
because
it.
We don't want that
There's a difference
cost.
there.
Yeah.
Okay,
They said, no, that's yours now.
so why are we, towards the Army Corps of Engineer accepting the transfer of ownership and maintenance responsibly of the diversion
So they
fall
are in
tunnel?
charge of it, and,
Yeah.
you know, they've been trying for years to say, oh, here, take it. And we're like, we're not gonna
No.
take it because
You built it.
you
You
built
did
it, and we know the cost involved in that.
We own the land, but you
Yeah, you
own
have
the
to.
tunnel.
Yep, and you have to maintain it, so
So,
I don't think
towards
you
the
should
Army Corps
transfer
of Engineers
ownership.
accepting the transfer of ownership and maintenance to Army Corps of Engineers, not to us. We don't want it. Whatever. Okay. So we want to sell them that land? This is about land. This is a land management plan. So when we say, continue working with the congressional delegation toward the Army Corps of Engineers accepting the transfer of ownership and
We're
maintenance.
working with them to take that land, yep.
So we're trying to sell that land to the Army Corps of Engineers.
Lot, the whole 26, when you look at the map here.
Well, but that would just be broken off. I mean,
Okay.
you see, I mean, you can get too nitpicky. They're not gonna do it that way. There's
Just-
private ownership, there's private things up there. There's,
So just to clarify it, I think we
Hydro.
need to add after transfer of ownership and maintenance to the Army Corps of Engineers, because the way I read it, it could be that
That we're accepting it.
we're trying to get ownership and maintenance. We own it now, but we don't want maintenance.
So wasn't there a move to try and restore that hydroelectric with the Abtech?
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
discussions.
There was a lot of discussions, and that was previous, like, electric managers, I think that was
Right.
2 electric managers ago. It may be something
We should put
to
in there,
look back at.
restore hydroelectric.
Well, we have
Yeah, but
the
work towards-
hydroelectric plant built as part of Marathon Water System is no longer functional, and surface water environmental chlorination requirements have made the Marathon water source uneconomical.
It's not a good
Water
spot for
piping.
water with hydroelectric. You need clean water without sediment, so you need a settling pond.
That pipe comes from up on the bench.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That doesn't come from Low Creek. The hydroelectric is that pipe that comes from the bench, and it is clearing water,
I was
and
talking
it
to
was
one point
used
there,
for
where it
hydroelectric.
can't.
Huh?
I was talking the canyon, like the canyon area.
The hydroelectric plant was down in the canyon, the
Yeah.
pipe comes down to it, but the
Okay.
water comes from up above.
Okay.
I mean, that pipe is still there.
From the
so
base trail.
are you saying we wanna add to the recommendation,
Restore the hydroelectric.
restore hydroelectric plant?
I mean, aren't we trying to go green?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I would like to see that, so let's add, investigate or just restore hydroelectric.
Sure. Someone's gotta
Got it.
decide they wanna do it. There's a big jump there, but it's
Another
written
point on
down.
this one, the race trail's on this property, right?
The what, the race
The
trail?
race trail?
Part
Part of it.
Yes.
Yep,
Yeah.
parts of
Part of
it,
the lower
parts
So
of
do we
it.
wanna say anything there about protecting the race trail? Because
No?
if we don't, and somebody wants to do something there,
Then
we
you put a
lose that
stairway in
race.
instead of. them
Yeah, but you
climbing
would have a
up the rock.
public,
But that,
You'd
there'd
have
be a
public
public input, and then the
input, and
council
it would
would
just-
make, yeah.
it'd be a big thing. I mean, you're trying to worry about something that's not worth worrying about.
Put an electric.
I agree, it
stairway.
needs to be protected.
Yeah,
How many
Was,
things we need to add?
right, I mean, you're just, then someone says protect the race trail, that means, oh, should we put a walkway up there to protect
Yeah.
it?
Or say,
I
don't
mean, it's
step
your
on
whole
the moss.
Yeah, don't step, I mean, it's, there's a whole thing there, it should just be left alone.
Give them a 3,000 foot.
In my
elevator.
opinion.
well,
If we start down that path,
Yeah.
how
that's
far
right.
down that path do we go?
well, if we start down that path, it's probably too late to do anything. If anybody starts down that path,
And,
from past experience.
well,
Yeah,
there's a whole group of people that kind of take, like they go up and cut down the trees and the bushes and they do all kinds of stuff that is on city property. I mean, but managed by the marathon race.
I get that, I'm just wondering if this is somewhere where we need to say that, you know, we don't want any development on that.
On
part of
that
the
section?
property, Yeah.
But
So that
can
we
you
don't
read
lose
development
it.
on it? Like, do we need to say it? Because I don't know if you actually can. But
We say retain land ownership, so nobody can develop on it without,
Okay.
yeah. But, I mean, we're
I think
retaining the
I think
ownership.
trying to,
If
something
we
that's
said
not-
sell with a sound development plan, somebody could put a lift up the race trail. But we're not, we say retain land ownership. Okay.
It's just to me, it's a huge asset
Mm-hmm.
for the
Yes.
community, that's why I
Yep.
was thinking that.
Lowell Point Sewage Treatment Lagoon, retain land ownership for the sewage treatment lagoon.
Yeah, but hope so.
sounds great.
That makes sense. Really one of those things that really
Okay, now we're at Resurrection River floodway east of the airport.
Needs to be a-
Look at those old street names, okay.
Wow.
Those are all
Develop
the-
a conservation overlay district. We really need to protect our airport, and so this is under PACCAB as well, right?
And
For
it's
port
coming,
commerce.
it's under PACCAB, but it's also will be coming forward to you guys in the next month to discuss that outlining area as well as what the airport is requesting to do with replatting.
Okay, there is a lot of back history and recent back history on what we were asked, what the state wanted to do and what we didn't want them to do. But did we stop what they wanted to do, or is this what they want to do, they're coming to ask us to do it?
To approve the replat to be able to do the.
To
new-
shorten our runway. So what if we say no?
Then they're just gonna take it to the borough.
Yeah.
And you'll get to say no there too.
So I have a quick question, because I don't know the term. What exactly is a conservation?
It wouldn't hurt to do that at the same time that we do the SMIC overlay. Like, do them at the same time. Here's why you have a SMIC, and here's why you have a conservation, and this is what it's gonna encompass.
But SMIC isn't gonna be on our land use allowed table, because it's industrial and it was
Correct.
already covered there.
Unless you
But
do
the
the
conservation district, what do we allow in a conservation district?
Right.
Do we allow recreational use? I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know, could somebody?
No building of fences, but you can
Right.
build trails that, you know,
Yeah, well,
those
yeah.
kind- yeah, okay.
Could
I
you
got
put a
it.
horseback riding arena type thing on it? I mean,
A
Why-
pole
why
barn?
not?
No
well,
fences.
pole
pole
barn
barn.
type of thing, but I mean, just like you say, that's,
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
No
All right.
fences.
we'll discuss it later.
okay, so all of them on this page, 45, are all, water stuff,
Conservation
Scheffler
overlay.
Creek.
Yep, we've taken them for,
Maintain
for
an
flooding
unloaded
purposes.
shed.
Right.
Uptown, develop south side of the levee as a non-amenities camping area. Wait a minute, are we really developing the south side of the levee as a non-amenities camping area out in Japanese Creek?
no,
Well, that's what it
Right
says.
there on the bottom of page 18.
Recommendation, develop the
45
south side of the
minutes.
levee as a non-amen, that's, we don't wanna put anybody, that's, no. I would say, I don't recommend that
I've
we
delete.
have,
written that out.
Delete.
okay.
Drawing a line through
Delete
that.
that puppy.
Are there any other options for that piece of property? That's a fairly
Big piece of
sizable,
property.
open piece of property, and I know it gets flooded sometimes.
Well, we might need to break it out because there's 7 pieces of property on that list. So if we wanted to do something with 1 or 2 of them, there might, with the levee, maybe the ones farther to the south aren't as, apt to flood, which I'm not sure which ones those are.
We can do a reevaluate with the flood board
Good.
at our next
That's
work,
good.
I mean, we
Yeah,
can do that as
add
our
that.
next work session, that
Sure.
we
Okay.
evaluate, are these areas still needed for the flood retention and use, or can it be used for something else?
Okay,
We
yeah.
could- That, we are always looking for topics.
Yep, that'd be a good topic, cause that's 7 parcels and there's a 32-acre one, you know, there's a lot in that.
Build a boardwalk along the river and let people bird watch.
Yeah, like along Potter's Marsh.
There you go.
Get more, attract more tourists.
Yep.
4th of July Creek levy. Retain land ownership, maintain as access to quarry and as a flood control levy.
I don't really wanna, we don't wanna change that.
No, we don't.
Is that the only way to access the bench?
No,
No, the bench,
the bench is off of Ash, like across there where the bridge used to be.
So I'm thinking, wait a second here.
It's on the other side of, it's on map 4, number 10, right?
map 4, number 10.
So it's on the other side of the school, basically the riverbed and then up the hillside.
So you know where the water tank is up there? Oh wait, I'm backwards.
Map
Smith?
4.
We're talking about the 4th of July Creek levy, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
4th of July, and so here's the
No.
map.
And number 10's the road,
Map 4, number 10.
but then if we were to, at some point, look at developing the bench, which is 4.
Oh,
7, I think parcel
Yeah,
7 is the quarry, isn't it?
About parcel 9. On map 4 of 8,
Yeah? You
Yeah.
say
Is it
9
9
is
the
the
quarry?
quarry?
Yeah, 9 is the quarry.
But that's over at SMIC. guys.
Yeah.
Right,
That's
isn't
where
that
we're
where we're
at,
at?
the 4th of July. We're at
Oh,
Creek
I was
Levee.
like, wait, I thought we were in Jap Creek again.
I don't-
No,
I don't-
Oh, okay.
I don't think you can get up to the bench from that area. That is a really steep area over there.
I think if you get up on the bench, it's from 7.
Yeah, from
Is it?
7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. 7 or,
And 7's where the contaminated dirt
Is,
Yeah.
is there.
that's what's there, okay.
I've been up on the bench from 7.
Can we sell that?
Yes, because it's past, I mean, it's all done with its 5-10 year contamination.
Okay, so we're getting to that piece of land? Okay, 4th of July Creek Levee. We're gonna just leave that as the recommendation.
Yeah.
Now we're on the 3 cemeteries, the Fort Raymond subdivision,
The only thing that needs to be done on the cemeteries is we need to, I'm working with it right now to do the replat, or not the replat, the survey, because some of it had never been surveyed and we need to make sure that it's in its proper areas.
so clear a path and identify Jesse Lee section? Is that part of what you're doing?
And the the Jesse Lee section, we're not only clarifying that section, but portion of the memorial is going to be to complete that as part of that designation,
Okay.
so.
Retain ownership and use for expansion of city cemetery as the Odd Fellows one, which is below the other one, right? And then Woodlawn. Cemetery plan, recommend cemetery retain.
How's surplus to south
South
half?
half. So we bought the old cemetery out off Salmon Creek Road? Is that what this is?
Yeah.
So we have just this little piece of property out in the midst of the borough property?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's like a historic cemetery. isn't it?
yeah, it is. Huh,
And can I also just add under recommendation, I'd like to have the same type of recommendation that we have for the cremains, like for the city the city portion, you know, have one of the, what's it called?
Columbarium.
Columbariums that would give the ability for ashes to be placed in it. So find a place on, you know, the Odd Fellows. In that overall plan that they did with the Odd Fellows, the new cemetery, there was a big talk about it, but I'd like to see that added in there just so we can,
add it in just to the Odd Fellows one?
Yeah,
Or to the
because that-
city one as well?
I'd say both, because if we can locate an area to do it, then we could incorporate it for the whole section, but we need to find
Okay,
a good location
I'm
to
in agreement
incorporate those.
to
No
add
problem
that
with
verbiage to
Sounds
both,
good.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And because I don't know how to say the word that Claire just said, but put that word in there.
Yes, will do.
Okay. Parks and campgrounds, Forest Acres Park. Continue use as a public park, sell with a sound development offer. Ooh, okay. How many parks, acres of park do we own?
A park,
Parks.
so
We,
that's the difference, guys.
Parks
So
and
we,
campgrounds.
parks and campgrounds, how much do we own?
We have very little that is designated as park. Your campgrounds are like this Forest Acres. If you look at the map, there's one little square or rectangle that's actually designated as park, and then the area that is used as a campground right now is,
Designated as what?
is designated as institutional.
Because
Yes,
that's where the fire
institutional.
department was thinking
No.
of going?
It's right here.
This one,
See, so you have this is where the senior housing is, this is where your bike park is.
Yeah.
This is the only designated as park, and the rest of this is institutional. Because at one point, they had tried to move Public Works out there,
Yep.
did a bunch of testing and everything, and then the Public Works director said, no, that's not where we wanna go.
Yeah.
So this is, you know, I would suggest that you leave it as the option with a sound plan development to be able to be sold. You could add, you know, I've talked to multiple council members as well as citizens. You could divide this into 8 really good size lots of single family housing.
But that's not the Forest Acres Park where we're at right now.
This is.
That's it? That's the 4.77 acres?
No, it's that green sliver, right?
This
The
That's
green-
that, right,
Yeah.
so that's what we're talking about right now. We
But
haven't
it
got to
also
that piece yet.
incorporates that campground.
But that's institutional, not campground. So, okay, so you're saying the 11.57 that is zoned institutional has a campground on it, and that's what we're recommending, okay. And the recommendation for it, well, it says it's zoned institutional.
sound development
Sell with the sound development plan.
Sound development plan or offer?
As long as it goes for housing.
Yes.
And
Really, right along the highway, you wanted as housing?
Well,
No.
the back portion of it, it's pretty big.
Oh, this part, right.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought they were included.
The,
Oh.
the.
I'm sorry, are we gonna see,
The
are we gonna see?
4.77 acres, the
Oh,
4.77, the first one that we're,
Yeah, we're talking about that sliver, right?
the
yes,
sliver,
this
Yeah,
green part.
green sliver.
this piece right here.
Yeah,
there's the other
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, so you got these right here.
You
Yeah, that's
have,
right, no,
Yeah, that's an okay house spot.
Okay, so sell, continue use as a public park,
Until you sell it.
sell with the sound development plan.
and I'll update this, cause there's things in there, like this site is within the special flood area, that's changed
Okay.
since then.
so now we're talking about the campground?
Now we talk about the campground,
Campground.
which I think we have the same recommendation.
The 11.5, yep.
Continue use as a public
Can
park.
I just put campground?
Yeah,
and
instead of
sell?
public park.
Isn't that where the bike park is?
No, no, that's, well, park.
Next to
It's
it.
part of
Next
it.
to it. It's adjacent to it, I
This
believe.
piece right here is.
So out of that 11.57 acres, 6.77 acres is ability to build. So that would leave this portion as the bike park. This would be your park, this would be your bike park, this is your senior housing, and this could possibly be sold for single-family housing.
So, can we say continue use as a campground and bike park? Sell remaining portion with a sound development plan?
I think that helps identify where it's at. It's a good point of reference.
And I'll break it down into, like, out of that, like, break down what the bike park is in acreage, what the,
Right,
okay.
okay.
And it's zoned
It's
institutional.
on
isn't it?
institutional
Yeah.
though.
We zoned it, we'd have to
You'd
rezone
have to
it.
be rezoned.
Yeah.
and-
Oh, but is there any other institutional, I think this came up, there's no other institutional property available in our town, right?
The empty lot behind, by the hospital is institutional, but it's private, I mean, we don't own it.
Right.
The state, shop is institutional. That's still kinda used, not always used.
The flat truck turnaround.
The, University of Alaska is institutional with a lot of property, but we don't own it. Well, you know, if an institution wanted to build there, we wouldn't rezone it, but if somebody else did, we'd rezone it.
If they came forward with a
Sound
sound
development.
development plan, then it would come forward as, the rezone also.
Well,
Right.
if
If
it
that's what,
wasn't an
if it, yeah, if it
institutional.
wasn't an institutional, if they were trying to do single-family housing or something.
Now, when we say the sell with sound development, do we need to differentiate, like, sell and or lease? Is there something that we might wanna end up leasing it instead of selling it? Like, do we need to say something like that, or?
I think when we did this in
Last time,
2014, our main thought was we don't want to be landlords.
True.
There is something, there's just there's a very strong, we don't have a lot of commercial property for sale, for
Yeah.
development, and there's just a big push for a lot of the, I mean, this is when we did it last time, there was a big push to have property that's just, the city's just sitting, not really using. And if somebody wanted to develop it for, you know, for use, then it should be available for that.
Yeah, I just,
I'm not sure a lot of developers want to lease. I mean, we
Right.
already did that with Chugach-Mute. They didn't want to lease, they wanted to own.
no, but a commercial property, a commercial institution can lease. I mean, we
Right.
have a lot of that, we do lease.
All of the harbor uplands right now are
Exactly.
lease
And it makes
sites.
sense for us to lease to a commercial and sell for residential homes.
Well, not really. I would never, as a business owner, ever in my life again, ever, develop a business on property I didn't own.
And
I
it's
did it
also,
once,
we
I
get it,
lost everything.
and we get it a lot, I mean, in community development, I have a lot of developers and commercial people that come in and they're like, I can't even go to a bank and say, hey, I wanna build this for, you know, the community, and have a really sound business plan. The first thing the bank looks at is, well, you don't own the property.
Right.
You're leasing it, and you're leasing it for 99 years, and then over the time, I mean, then you get people that say, well, it's a 99-year lease, and we're stuck in this for 99 years,
And then you can't,
and you
right.
can't do.
True, but the property belongs to the people in Seward, and I wouldn't wanna just sell out to a big business because we shouldn't be a landlord.
What if it's small businesses and the idea of public property is for the best use? And
And it
if
makes
you need services in
money.
your community, you have to provide the property for those services to develop.
Just don't wanna hamstring us by selling everything we own when a lot of times it makes money for the people
Well,
of Seward.
but we get property back.
So the lease sites in the harbor uplands, we make sales tax off of all the businesses that are running there. And
Yeah.
so we're happy
Sales
with,
tax is pretty good.
and they are happy leasing them. So as far as that part of being a landlord, it's working. But I'm not sure on some big pieces of property that we're gonna find somebody that will lease it and build a, you know, $5 million building on a
But if
leased
somebody
piece
said
of
they
property.
wanted to lease it, I'm sure the city would not back down from a lease.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't wanna get to a
No.
spot where
I
I
don't
don't
we're shooting
think,
ourselves in the foot.
Do you wanna say sell or lease? Is that what you wanna say
Well, I
on
wanted
each
to
one
know
of
if
them?
that was if we could, if
Right.
selling keeps us from leasing it, basically.
Yeah, but
If we say sell, we have to
any time
sell.
like something this comes up, it's gonna come up through a whole public process.
So
And at that
saying
point in
selling
time-
is just fine as saying selling
Yeah.
and leasing.
Correct.
Okay,
That's
guys,
what I was getting at.
Yeah.
we have a special meeting with one
right.
item on the agenda starting in less than 5 minutes.
Can
And
we
we are
not
at
finish-
Forest
Can we
Lake.
not finish that one that we just talked about, cause I have some issues.
Okay,
with
we're
that.
not, we're gonna,
We're
I've
gonna-
marked
we're
that
gonna
as
stop
start here.
right At Forest Acres
Fair
Camp.
enough.
Okay, and again, sitting in the rain, that was
For like
just
2
something
hours.
else. Yeah, 2 hours,
What school?
There's a song about that, isn't it?
sitting on the dock of the bay.
think
We
it's
were,
dancing in the rain.
we were sitting in the football, sitting on the football field.
Sitting in the rain, with my shower cap.
Okay.
Oh, that's right.
Singing in the rain,
right?
it's singing in the rain.
Sitting in the rain.
Oh, it says my name on it, you can have yours back then. All right, we're just gonna go with this whenever Brenda's ready.
Okay, we are ready.
I call to order the May 20th, 2021 meeting of the Seward Planning and Zoning Commission. Commissioner Sullivan, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Tonight's roll call, Ambrosiani,
Here.
Swan,
Here?
Sullivan,
Here.
Verhey is excused. Cease.
Here.
Charbonneau.
Here.
Chair Eklund.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Item 4, citizens' comments on any subject except those items scheduled for public hearing. Do we have anyone signed in?
I do not.
No one signed in. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to comment on items that aren't scheduled for public hearing? Seeing and hearing no one, I will close that section of the agenda and move on to item 5, approval of agenda and consent agenda. A motion by commission, please?
I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda.
I'll second.
Commissioner Charbonneau made the motion, Sullivan seconded, and are there any additions, deletions, or amendments to the agenda or consent agenda, administration?
Madam Chair, we need to move the approval of the April 6th meeting minutes under unfinished business.
Okay.
And you have a substitute that was,
It is.
The substitute number 2.
we have old packets, so we.
Okay, I
Okay.
apologize.
Okay, so the what came out on your email had it under
Yeah.
under unfinished business. So we have a lay down. Okay.
You have 2 laydowns.
2 laydowns.
And the more current one is the substitute number 2.
Okay, so we will take, I move that we take that off of consent and move it to unfinished business.
Yeah, thank you.
I need a second.
I'll say,
It's a second by Swan. Any further discussion on the agenda and consent agenda? Do we need a vote on the amendment?
No, we can just vote on the agenda.
Okay.
So voting on tonight's agenda, Charbonneau,
Yes.
Ambrosiani,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Swan,
yes,
Cease,
Yes.
and Chair Eklund.
Yes.
Thank you, your agenda has been approved.
Thank you. That takes us to special reports and presentations. A city administration report, please.
Madam Chair and Commission, a couple things. With this special meeting happening tonight, we have nothing for our June 1st meeting that would need to be brought forward in an agenda style, like as a regular meeting. We're requesting that you either reschedule to have a work session on June 1st, or you schedule to have a work session and the possibility of a special meeting at your June 15th work session, regularly scheduled work session meeting. I will not be here through June 7th, so any type of work session that is, or if it's discussed, either cancel the June 1st or have a special meeting on June, or a work session on June 1st. Planner Courtney, she'll be acting Community Development Director while I'm gone, so she will work with you guys on that. I also want to send sincere condolences to Commissioner Verhey. She has lost someone in her family, and that is why she's not in attendance. And I know that our liaison from council had asked to possibly speak tonight, so after my presentation, or after my report, if you guys want to allow her to speak under the
Other reports?
other reports.
Okay.
We have hired a planning assistant. Her name is Taryn Burnett. She's on day 4 of her job, and I chose not to have her come tonight. We'll get her to the next one. I figured I got Courtney to come back. I don't know. I should probably tread lightly before I bring somebody else in. And they'll have full authority while I'm gone. Just so I can give an update on the process at the Jesse Lee Memorial Park, just to give a little background and update. Currently, we have the contractors back on site after the winter. Our goal, and well, there's no goal. We are going to make our goal of June 29th, having it completely demolished, the ground hydro-seeded, and the starts of the park will be pretty much in flow. And the goal is to put a community garden on one section of the Jesse Lee property, a dog park on the other section with large open green area. We've hired local artists to help us make some memorial signs using portions of the old foundation from the Jesse Lee when it was first built. They'll be taking those out and putting a large sign that has the Jesse Lee Memorial Park with cutouts of children playing. And we're going to do that at both at the entrance off of Benson as well as from when you come around on Phoenix, you'd see it right there. We're also taking a portion of the foundation and taking it out to the Jesse Lee Cemetery and using some of the beams from the Jesse Lee home to build an arbor for the Jesse Lee Cemetery. Like I said, the plans, it's moving really fast. We have had some change orders, so the cost, of course, did change. Due to the stop work order that was issued previously, that first change order is a little over $186,000, and then we had another change order for $121,000, and that is for the remaining portion of demo on the old boiler room. After getting in there, we were able to pump the fuel out. There was fuel still left in it, but we've determined and found 2 other drains in the site, and we have to abate and figure out where those drains went. So that additional $121,000 is incorporated in that. We've also put out, like I said earlier in the work session, we are working on with the police department and animal control for a new RFP. It's a design build RFP for the animal shelter project. The police department, Carl Schaefemeyer, created a really great walk-through 3D model of a possibility of a design, and we incorporated that with our RFP just as an example. We have over 22 people that have asked for the RFP on the plans list, so we've got really good turnaround on that. I told Courtney, we're good. Normally we get about 10. It just keeps coming. So that bid is due to the clerk's office by 1 p.m. on June 11th, and we will be opening the bids on June 14th at 11 a.m. here in council chambers, and then following that we will do the scoring for it. So just to give you a little update on what we're doing over there.
Okay, so on the work session and special meeting issues, we can address that under 10A, 2021 Planning and Zoning Meeting Schedule? Okay, we'll make that happen there. And that takes us to B, other reports, announcements, and presentations. Council Member DeMoss.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for having me. I just wanted to touch on a couple things tonight that I've been working on, just as a council member and a citizen, and could use your help. I had a business owner who owns the Tufted Puffin, Randy and Jen Wells, come to me with the interest of wanting to do cannabis extraction in their current building that they're in Central Business downtown. And there isn't a definition for cannabis extraction right now per our code, I believe. But I think under the state, it falls under manufacturing, which we don't allow manufacturing in Central Business right now, light or heavy. So that led me to kind of just looking into that, kind of see what was going on for businesses in downtown. And there are already businesses that are operating with a business license for manufacturing, basically. And these are small types of businesses like soap making, jewelry making, candy making, things like that. That's considering light manufacturing. That's considered light manufacturing. So in an attempt to kind of figure out what the best way would be for these folks to be able to do this at their building, I've been working with Jackie and the fire department, kind of trying to figure out what the best way to do it is. And I think that changing the definition of cannabis extraction to take out that it is considered manufacturing, and then we would just have an inspection process. Would that be a permit? I'm not sure.
Yeah, you want me to help with that?
Well, if she
Yeah.
has questions, we need to know the answers.
I would
In order to
appreciate
help,
that. Yeah,
because
because we
I
just
was-
kind of,
I was
we're
thinking
talking
a
this
different
afternoon
route.
after talking to.
Yeah, so I've worked with the fire department, because we keep going back and forth on this heavy and light. And under the title right now, it says, in this title, a marijuana product manufacturing facility or marijuana concentrate manufacturing facility using hazardous materials in the manufacturing process and shall meet all criteria of of this code and the Alaska State Statute and administrative codes, is classified as heavy manufacturing. Facilities not using hazardous materials are considered light use. The fire department recommended that we change that. You know, you could do it where you do it as a conditional use under the land use allowed table. But he suggested that we change that title to read a marijuana product manufacturing facility or marijuana concentrate manufacturing facility shall meet all other criteria of this code in the International Fire and Building Code, in the Alaska State Statute and administrative codes, and is classified as a Factory 1 moderate hazard. That gives them the ability to do it, but doesn't make us, you know, you as planning and zoning and us as community development, the deciders of what heavy and light is. It literally puts it under that international fire code. They would have to comply with everything under that Factory 1 moderate hazard. That's not changing light manufacturing, or like she was talking about, soap, jewelry, candy, all of that. It's just changing under our marijuana code how we would use the definitions instead of calling it either heavy or light. Because in the extraction process, we've been told multiple different directions that you know, some use butane, some use CO, some use water. Like it keeps changing, and it's not a place for community development or, you know, or planning and zoning to say, yeah, it's a heavy use. Instead, I'd much rather refer to the International Fire Code.
And I'll add that, like, I think in Kenai, they do it right. They have it in central business. And then I know with the more advanced technology, they're using the CO2, which is really a lot less hazardous. So I think that's why maybe originally it was considered heavy manufacturing. But I think a lot of that is changing too. So I don't know what the best process would be. This, I mean, if the fire department thinks that this is a good way to address the cannabis extraction specifically, then maybe changing the definition for cannabis extraction is good. But I also wonder if addressing light manufacturing and central business all around should be addressed. Maybe not with a CUP, because I don't know if we need an actual inspection for the jewelry maker, but it should maybe at least be discussed. I don't know if it was always not allowed in central business. So I guess I'm just kind of looking at maybe two different issues while we're talking about the land use table and definitions that maybe could be looked at.
Well, under the land use table, I don't think we have a separate line item for candy making, jewelry making, or soap making, or cannabis extraction. And the brewery, which no one's mentioned, it falls under the restaurant and pub, and it has designations. So I don't know where the candy, jewelry, and soap under commercial business district. I think they're just retail services, right? We don't have a separate.
They're
light
licensed as manufacturers.
There is a light manufacturing on our land use allowed table list.
Not on the land use allowed.
Well, we'd have
It's
to.
in the definitions.
it's in a definition, but it doesn't say that in the central business district, we're gonna allow light manufacturing, and it's, under the definition, it's defined as these items.
Correct.
So, we have to address it somehow under the land use allowed table, and then if it's not gonna be a conditional use permit, it's just gonna be that the business license process would then require a fire department review.
Maybe just like a short-term lodging.
Yeah, right, I mean,
Yeah.
so all manufacturing then would require a fire, light manufacturing in the central business district would require a fire service review. Because there might be heat, a lot of heat from the taffy being melted, I don't know.
Yeah.
Another, like.
And, you
right.
know, and there is chemicals in the brewery and the, I mean,
Micro
just,
distilleries, that could be something that comes up in the future.
soldering and jewelry making. So, yeah, I think we can address it, and that is why we're gonna have some more work sessions. So we
Awesome.
get to the land use allowed table.
That's it, thank you so much for everything.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other reports, announcements, or presentations that you're aware of? I see no one's hands up. Okay, moving on to item 7, public hearings. We've handled anything that's come before us, so we're on B, new business. Resolution 2021-013, recommending the Kenai Peninsula Borough approval of the preliminary replat of Tract F, 4th of July subdivision, number 2 of Seward, creating 2 tracts to be known as Tract F and Tract G, 4th of July subdivision, number 2, sawmill replat, physically located at 601 Nash Road. Staff report, you need a motion before the staff report?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion that we pass resolution 2021-013.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Swan, second by Charbonneau. Can get you right there. And I'll now ask for a staff report.
Madam Chair and Commission, as the chair stated, this is creating a 2.12 acre parcel located in the sawmill, 4th of July Creek Sawmill replat. Sockeye Point Marine Services currently uses the tract of land to service and store marine vessels. They would like to construct a bunkhouse on the property to house at least 21 employees. The current industrial zoning prohibits them from building housing on the property. With this replat, they hope to rezone that tract so that they can construct the facility. If the commission remembers, we had a CUP come forward to bring down possible bunk housing from the slope. In that process, it was determined that they did not meet the requirements for building as far as snow load and the movement of them, and so that CUP failed to move any further. Mr. Nelson has talked to me in great lengths about, you know, how the commission is moving forward with the possibility of doing a SMIC overlay zone and how to operate and be able to allow housing out there. I did suggest that he look at, you know, replatting and moving in the direction to help add the ability to build the bunkhouses. The facility would have an electrical distribution panel that would be connected to the city power. It would also have a backup generator. The water system, they plan on connecting to the water service and have it metered. They are currently looking into some on-site septic options, and again, that would come forward through the CUP or the rezone process in his planned unit development. With the facility, they would have fire detection system that would be certified as we requested. A lot of the things that he is incorporated in his replat and working with him is following along with what was originally required in his CUP in hopes to do that. So the property is zoned industrial. The size of tract F is 41 acres, and like I said previously, tract G is 2.12 acres. Tract F is served by existing public utilities. It's maintained streets and it has the hydrants. Its existing use is being used for marine storage and repair. The access is direct access to Nash Road, giving Tract G the most Promax access, and the road access runs along the southern edge of both tracks. The zoning, the flood zone, it's not within a flood zone issue. We did send this out for staff report, and the building department did not reply. The fire department had no comment. Public Works is just wanting to make sure that in the replat that they don't lose any utility easements or access, because they do access a couple of the hydrants in that area. The harbor had no comment, the police department had no comment, and the electric department, as always, said they want to make sure that the utility easements remain in place for the electric. And telecommunication, we had no response. This is consistent with our comprehensive plan. We've listed those. Encourage completing development of SMIC as a revenue source with year-round employment opportunities. Encourage development of new types of housing in Seward, and encourage the development of seasonal and employee housing. The strategic plan currently does support the expansion of affordable, diverse, year-round housing that will meet varied needs in the Seward's long-term and seasonal residents. We recommend that the commission approve resolution 2021-13 in accordance with the Seward City Code, that the city council approve the submittal of the replat also.
Thank you. At this time, I will open this item for public hearing. Is there anyone signed in?
No, Madam Chair.
Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this item? At this time, I see no one ready. So I will close the public hearing and bring.
That's the co-applicant, just.
Yeah. So if we have any questions, we might go backwards. But at this time, I'll close public hearing and bring it back to the commission for discussion. Commissioner Swan, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I mean, at this point in time with the replat, I don't see any issues at all. You want to replat the property, they are certainly welcome to.
Okay. Any other comments regarding this item? Okay. We have a motion and a second. Let's go ahead and have a roll call vote.
Voting on the approval of Resolution 21-013, Charbonneau,
Yes.
Ambrosiani,
Yeah.
Cease,
Yes.
Swan,
Yes,
Sullivan,
Yes.
Chair Eklund.
Yes.
That resolution is approved.
Thank you. That takes us to item 8, unfinished business, which we moved under the agenda, the April 6th regular meeting minutes, and we have a substitute number 2. So I will ask someone for an explanation on our many copies of this minutes.
I can let you know that the substitute number 2 is the more current version and includes, you might recall from the last meeting that Commissioner Ambrosiani wished to include some more specific information about under Marie Gage's citizen comments about the petition that she had submitted, and then he clarified his own comments related to the petition. And so in both cases, those amendments were taken care of, if you want to take a look at those. But then there's one additional thing that was just pointed out today by the planner, and that is that at the end of the minutes, under the final citizen comment section, the comments from Cameron Kowalski were cut off, and I think actually Commissioner Sullivan is to thank for pointing that out. And so I went back to the recording and I listened and then I captured her comments on there. So there are 3 items, 3 points in the meeting minutes that need to be.
Okay. All right, so, I guess, you would, want us to do a motion and a second
A
to
motion to.
approve these.
The substitute number 2 minutes,
Okay.
yes, if you
All
would.
I'll make that motion to accept substitute number 2 for the
Thanks.
April 6th meeting. minutes.
I'll second it.
Okay.
I had Commissioner Sullivan is the second. She
Oh,
had her
okay.
hand up
Oh.
down there. Gotta speak
sorry.
up. Sorry,
I was
sorry,
looking down.
speak up or you'll lose your spot. So, can this be approved by unanimous consent or do you need roll call?
I'd prefer roll call.
Roll call vote, please.
Okay. So approving the substitute number 2 minutes from April 6th. Sullivan,
Yes.
Charbonneau,
Yes.
Verhees, sorry, excuse, Cease,
Yes.
Swan,
Yes.
Ambrosiani,
Yes.
Chair Eklund.
Yes.
Thank you, those minutes are approved.
Thank you. And that takes us to 10A, the planning and zoning meeting schedule is the only item under there. And in the administrative report, we had a recommendation or the notice that there is nothing pressing for our first meeting on June 1st. So, but we don't want to not have a meeting that we can take action at if something comes up. Because it is the summer season and people are coming in and wanting to do business. So I would recommend that we hold a work session and continue our work on the municipal land use plan on the night of June 1st. And maybe the work session could be at our usual work session time, 6 o'clock. And we'd go till 8 and finish that and possibly move on to land use allowed table. And if we don't finish that, on the night of the 15th, would it be June 15th, our second meeting?
Our second meeting is June 15th.
June 15th? If we don't have any action items, have a work session. If we have action items, schedule a special meeting. We could have both. We could have a work session starting at 6 and finish up what we didn't get to on the 1st, and then have a special meeting at 7 o'clock, because our meetings start at 7. We'll know on the 2nd, or on the 1st, if we finish, which, that's a big
So
hope.
June
but
1st is only be
6
6 to 8
o'clock.
o'clock.
6 to 8.
And
And we'll
then nothing
cancel
after
the
8.
regular meeting
Yeah,
and
we'll-
schedule a work.
We'll schedule a work session, which is typically, we have our regular meeting, the first meeting of the month, and a work session the second meeting of the month. So we'll just give public notice that it's a work session, and it'll be on the municipal land use plan. And then a special meeting. Do you think that on the night of the 15th, that it would be possible to have a draft ordinance for the, okay.
That was quick.
We'll look at the meeting in July for that, okay? That was quick.
Just telling you.
July 6th,
No
yes, okay,
hesitation with it.
all right.
And Madam Chair, I just want to point out that we'll make sure that it's in the title, that you bring your municipal land use plan, and we will incorporate the land use allowed table so that you guys can start that review. Since I won't be here, this will be Courtney's first, put everything together, so bear with her, but I just make sure that we're not gonna reprint the municipal land use.
You're not gonna
You
print
need
the
to bring it
municipal
with
land
you.
use plan. Bring it with me. I'm holding it in my hand as we speak. And I probably have another one at home, don't I?
Yeah.
Which is buried, but we'll get to that. Okay,
Alright.
so that takes us, wait, we should ask about quorums for those 2 nights. Is there any problem with a quorum for the first?
I might not be here.
Okay,
I'll be here.
I'll be
Claire?
here for both of them, so.
When I'm still living, I'll be here.
So we have 4, Craig,
I should be here.
okay, and then the 15th, will you be back?
Should be back here.
Okay, and everybody else is still
Yeah,
around?
that's fine.
Okay, I'll be here, so, looks like then we'll have quorums for those, so. All right, takes us to commission comments. Commissioner Sullivan?
This has been, once again, a fast learning, drinking from a fire hose on some of this stuff, but I really appreciate all that the community development section has been doing and helping out. And it's, I really appreciate all the folks here that are working so very hard to make things go right for the city of Seward.
Thank you. Commissioner Charbonneau?
I just want to thank staff for putting these packets together and sitting here with us on their evenings.
Commissioner Ambrosiani?
No comment.
Commissioner Cease?
Well, I want to kind of agree with Charbonneau about the staff, but also want to congratulate everybody from Ambriosi all the way around to Claire
Yeah, Claire.
about their input. It's just, I sit here amazed at how much knowledge all these people have. I'm just, I'm just sitting here listening to all of it. Sounds good.
Thanks. Vice Mayor Swan?
No comment.
And I just want to thank Jackie for covering us on packets and Courtney helping out. And I know that Courtney's going to do a great job. And I'm really pleased that Clerk Ballou has stepped in to help with minutes. And I don't know if that's going to continue, or are we going to have our administrative assistant's going to get there?
We're gonna get there.
Okay.
We're so thankful that Brenda is helping us
Yes,
because it
yes.
is a definite learning curve, especially on that side.
And I also want to thank Councilmember DeMoss for coming and speaking about the light manufacturing. And now on to citizens' comments. Is there any individual that would like to take 5 minutes or up to 5 minutes for a comment? All right, well, thank you for coming. We don't have any citizens' comments to respond to, so we're gonna not go there. And I'll take a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, so adjourned.
7:32.